We are live now. I can't see anybody yet. Let me just wait for some minutes, okay? Good evening, everybody. Good evening from wherever you're watching me from. Good evening. We are currently in evening Nigeria, so I'm saying good evening to you. But good day to others that are out of Nigeria that might be watching us at this time or wherever you're going to be watching this particular video. So welcome again to day 2 of our conference at TP Parenting Academy. I'm excited to be here again. And I have an amazing guest that is going to be addressing this topic with us. She's my mentor, and I'm so glad that she's here to do this with me and with every one of us. And the topic that she's going to be discussing tonight, is when the building blocks are faulty, way forward. From the theme of the conference is about parents as building blocks for a healthy family. And like if you have been following us all this while, since yesterday, you realize that we have talked about why the building blocks matter and why that influence our the quality of health in our families. And today we are trying to look at the aspect of what if the building block is faulty? What if something have happened to the blocks, which happen to be the parents? What are the way forwards? And please do enjoy the session while I try to read the brief profile of my speaker. I hope that you are going to be able to join us. Okay, the link, I'm coming. So, some minutes, please. Some people are asking for the links here. Let me quickly read through the profile of my mentor and somebody that I value and respect so much. So, few minutes, please. So from here, I don't know why it's taking this long for me to see. I thought I kept it close by.
Do you have it now,
So
Shaz?
Amina Oluwatosin Yunus Ali, she's a certified family therapist, a performance consultant, and a master practitioner of neuro linguistic programming, that's NLP, which affords her the competence to use therapeutic tools to help our clients identify and heal unresolved childhood traumas, grieving process, and many psychological roadblocks hindering a healthy lifestyle. She's a master practitioner of family system engineering with the Institute of Family System Engineering and Development and a member of the Network of Family System Engineering Professionals. She's a certified mediator from the International Mediation Campus, Germany, with specialty in family mediation. She also uses the Gothman Institute Canada research-based emotion coaching tools to help families recover their relationships. She is an intermediate level practitioner of tapping mediation with tapping solutions of tapping solutions for meditative and reflective healing techniques. So thank you for joining me, ma'am. The
It's
floor
a
is
pleasure.
yours. Thank you very
It's a
much, ma'am.
pleasure. No, thank you very much for inviting me here once again. It's I had an awesome time last year when I was here, and I'm so happy that I could be here today again. So I've been tasked to talk about when the building blocks are faulty, the way forward. Um, I know that we've been talking a lot about what makes parenting work. We've talked about marriage, the parents' marriage. We've talked about how to build the family, what we need to build the family. But what happens when the building blocks are faulty? What does it really mean? Okay, for a minute I thought I was off air. So, what does it really mean that the building blocks are faulty? Well, when it comes to parenting, there are certain expected frameworks that we need to establish. Not the list of which are five things that I tried to itemize here. The first is the vision of parenting. So, when we're growing up, there seems to be this progressive expectation that comes with our becoming adults. So one from a baby to becoming an infant, And from an infant to becoming a baby, to becoming a toddler, to becoming a child of certain age, and then you're an adolescent, and then you become a young adult, and then you're an adult. For each of those stages of life, there seems to be a certain expectations. The minute you finish primary school, it's expected that you go to secondary school. When you finish secondary school, you go to university. When you finish university, you're supposed to look for work and to start. Right, you don't, never mind whether or not you've even discovered yourself. It is expected that once you finish university, you get work or you get married. In most cases, when the woman is concerned, as soon as you're in your early 20s, it is expected that you should begin to have the African mindset is that you should begin to have a way to get married so that you can procreate early. But no one ever sits down with you to ask you, why do you want to have children? Because again, we think that this is a progressive expectation of being a human being in this world. Now, the challenge with that is because you haven't thought of why you're having children, you don't know what exactly to take for you to have those children. So, with the new age resources, new age information, new age expectations, we now begin to see that there's a lot we didn't know about parenting in the first instance. And it becomes an headache when our children begin to misbehave as a result of our own lack of resources or lack of skill in parenting. Or maybe because we are just not prepared to handle what it means to be a parent, and that begins to affect us. And then you begin to find people who are disempowered as a result of the way they are thinking about parenting. But if I had to ask, if this was an interactive show, and I could ask the audience, why are you a parent? Many of us would probably just say, well, it is expected for us to procreate. But why? Why do you think you have to procreate? Uh, um, so this is a faith-based program, right? I want to be sure of that. We have more
We
Muslim. We have
we we have more Muslim than Christian, but we
okay,
have both people audience here.
both faith. Okay, great. So both faiths anyway. If you were to be told, if biblically or Islamically, you're asked why do you want to have children, you probably attach it to pleasing your Lord. But exactly why is having that child a means of you pleasing your Lord? We rarely go that deep or that far into explaining our why. So our why is exactly it's the thing that ties our resources or our capabilities and our skills to the dreams of the kind of children that we have. When we are praying, God, please give me children, God, give me children. We ask for healthy children. We ask some people actually go as far as beautiful children. Some people go as far as saying, I want a God-fearing child. I want to raise a God-fearing child. But the question is, again, why does it matter that you have these children in the first place? If you haven't thought about that, maybe this is the time for you to really ask yourself, why am I a parent? What is because anybody that has the biology to give birth to a child can be a parent, but it takes certain things for you to become a conscious, connected parent that will truly raise a God-fearing child. Every child is born every child. So even that Agbego that you see on the street was born God-fearing, because for that child at infancy, when God gave him the breath to cry, he cried. When he was wet and he needed to be changed, God gave him the language of cry and your parents will answer you. And he did. He did. I mean, that conversation, you were not part of it, but that child knew that that is the only thing that could get your attention. That is a God fearing child. That is a child that is listening to the instructions of the one that created him. So your child was already born God fearing. The challenge now is, how does a God fearing child now turn into um, a less God fearing child when they become adolescents or when they become young adults, or a child that, or an individual that does not even recognize God in the first instance, right? So it is in the why of your parenting that you begin to identify exactly what it is that makes you a parent. It is not just the biology, it is the intention that you bring into being a parent. The next thing is the who. The who are the people that, made the decision to become the parent? Who are you as an individual? That is one of the building blocks that makes up the essence of the framework of parenting. Who are you? Do you understand yourself? Do you know your personality? Do you know what makes you tick? Do you know what motivates you? Do you know where you are going or what you are striving for? Do you even have a vision for yourself? Is there something of this world or greater than this world that you are looking forward to? That if you become a parent, it will become a part of your who and not an accessory to your who. Because so many people in this day and age have children just so that somebody can say, "Oh, baba lagbaja niyen, iya lagbaja, iya tamedo niyen." We don't go as far as recognizing that our being human or our being parents is not a label to be one like Givenchy or Gucci. No, it is part of our being. It is not just a role either. Just so that you can say that because you are paying school fees or you are paying the house rent or building houses, so that makes you the father or the mother. It is more than a role. It is not a label. It is an information, a striving that that is tied to your why. The next part of this is the what. What makes you a parent? What are the skills and resources that you've harnessed? So I was sharing with a client recently, and I was telling the client that, you know what, it's okay for you to say you don't want to be a parent anymore. If this child of yours is giving you too much trouble, you can just say you don't want to do it anymore. Because again, the point of the whole thing is this, excuse me, if the child is in trouble and you feel that it is out of your capacity to help the child, if you are in a job and you're tired of the job, you change jobs, right? If you are at school and you feel like this is not the kind of course you want to do, you can change courses. So we take our children the same way, like if they are in trouble and they're giving us too much headache, that like we can change them. But you and I both know that is not the way we parent. That is not possible. The most you can do is perhaps submit the child to the government's care, and they will take the child to a remand home where they would becomes the governor's child because of behavioral challenges or something like that. But that doesn't stop you from being, and you, of course, you have to consider the labels that you get from that. But not many of us know that. Many of us know that that is not what we want to do. But at the same time, we are not investing enough in the skills and resources that are needed for us to become the type of parents that our children need. Not the type of parents that we feel comfortable in being, mm-mm, but the type of parents our children need. And I'm going to explain that part in a little bit. The next building block is the how. How exactly are you parenting? What is the language of your parenting? If your child is born in China and is surrounded by Chinese people, the child is expected to have a language of Chinese. So, in your own parenting system, in your own family system, what is the language of your family? How exactly is that language breeding confidence and establishing choices and providing challenges that will make the child become resilient? What is the how of your parenting that is going to make this individual become a wholesome, responsible individual, not a dependent or entitled child in an adult form? The next building block is the where. What kind of environment is this child being raised? Or what kind of environment is meant to support your parenting? Right? I'm talking about the building blocks that we need to identify whether they are faulty or not here. Right? So, what kind of environment are there? What kind of opportunities and what kind of spaces are the children being, or the child being surrounded by? So this will tell you whether or not you even are in the right space or in the right environment for you to fully parent a wholesome individual in the first instance. And the last, which we rarely talk about, whether as coaches or therapists, but because this is except in faith-based conferences and seminars. But even scientific research has now shown as important is for whom are we parenting. Now, the reason I said that scientific research has made note of the importance of this for whom is that it has not been discovered that faith faith in something bigger than any human being or any object is the one thing that can drive or that can motivate an individual to surpass their expectation of goodness. So when the chips are down and mistakes are being made, the only thing that would make you not give up on a child or make you not give up on parenting or make you not give up on your family is the faith that you hold. And of course, we know faith is tied to God. So for whom are you parenting? Are you parenting for yourself? Are you parenting for people to say that, oh, you're a good parent? Because that would fade. Or are you parenting for God, who you know is the master rewarder and the master weaver, and that no matter the tests and trials that you may encounter on this parenting journey, you can always go back to Him and say, you know what? I am submitting everything to you. You know the beginning and you know the end. Even as I'm in the middle of this journey, you know it better than I do. I need you to guide me. And this goes beyond whatever any therapist or any coach can give you. It speaks to the soul of the one that even created that child for you in the first instance. And these are the these are the six building blocks that make the framework of parenting, that make up our persona or our need to identify a parent. What are we even saying? Imagine you want to build a house, for instance, or you've actually started to build a house and you want to build a two-story building or a three-story building. You've already decked the house, but all of a sudden, all those building inspector agencies come and tell you that something is wrong with the house. And they are telling you that you need to do this, you need to do this, and you need to. Then you're looking at yourself like, after all the amount of money I have spent. So you ask yourself, do you want to abandon because of the investment you put into this house? Do you want to abandon the house the way it is and then go to another land and then begin all over again? Or are there things that you can do? And this is what the particular topic I'm treating today is speaking to. It is about understanding that no matter where your house is right now, no matter where the blocks have already reached that you've done, the house that you've built, whether the architect that you employed is one that actually knows what he's doing or not. But if you are here and you're listening to me and you've encountered one trouble or the other on your parenting journey and you're beginning to feel like perhaps you made a mistake from the beginning, the first thing to do is you can choose to either ignore that nudge and continue building the house and continue to sleep on the same roof until one day, and Allah forbid, there is a devastating rain that turns into a flood that begins to show you the cracks in the walls and begins to show you just how unstable the foundation is, which we know of course will lead to the house collapsing. Or you can begin to listen now to those nudges. You can begin to see, to try and identify what exactly is going wrong and how you need to begin again. The first things that we need to, what are the things that would nudge us towards recognizing that the building blocks are faulty? One of the first things that would do this is our significant emotional experiences. You see, no matter how well intentioned we are as parents, and I'm going to share my personal story. If I've never, for the benefit of those that are just knowing me, I think I've shared it before last year, but I'll share it again. No matter how well intentioned we are as parents, no matter how well we assume that we're going to do better than our parents, if we haven't walked the path of intentional, conscious parenting, we will make the same mistakes. And guess what? Even more devastating mistakes than our parents did. Because the first rule of parenting is this: you parent the way you were parented. There is no way you can avoid it. You see how your parents shouted at you. You are coming back from school at 3 o'clock when your closing time was 2 o'clock, and only it was because you were trying to help a friend, finish homework, or you're trying to write notes, and then your parents are waiting for you by 3 p.m. and you're not home, and they're at the door and say, "Oh, or telling you all sorts of things, shouting at you, calling you all sorts of names. And by all good intentions, we're actually trying to be a good person. But because you've listened to those words, they've called you lazy, they've called you stupid, they've called you idiot over and over again. They beat you at the slightest mistake because they were afraid that they were going to lose you to bad vices and bad people around you. And that is the way they've parented you. When you become a parent, if you have not gone through therapy of one way or the other, if you have not decided to actually undo and unlearn those unconscious conditioning that you have lived through, you will do the same thing for your child. The worst thing is you may not even recognize that that is what you're doing, because it will not show up in two ways, either as a passive aggression or as an active aggression. Passive aggression is when you're saying, "Oh, I'm the best parent to my daughter and to my child," and you're overcompensating for the pain that you received. So you're not providing choices, you're not providing challenges, you're not providing opportunities for your child to grow resiliently. Because ìyà tó jẹ mí ò gbọdọ̀ jọmọ mi. Um, the pain I went through, my child must not go through it. You are unconsciously also abusing the intelligence and the intellect of that poor child or those poor children in your care. Because again, you are thinking that you are doing it better than your parent. The active one, the active abuse is when you tell yourself before you get married, "Oh no, I'm going to be the nicest parent my child has ever seen." And this is what happened to me. At the slightest mistake that child makes, you just find yourself shouting and becoming the same anger that you have lived. Then you ask yourself and you sit down, where did all those promises go? Why didn't I do it the way I promised myself that I was going to do it? My dears, it is not that you don't want to, it is that you do not have the skills to. And it is not your fault. You're not to blame. Because I go back to the first rule of parenting. You parent the way you were parented. So those significant emotional experiences that you've experienced, that you've gone through, if they are not resolved, if you have not gone through compassion therapy or closure therapy, if you have not unlearned, you've not identified them, see them for what they are, and then let them go, they will continue to haunt your parenting strategies, and they'll begin to show up in places that you do not expect. And you begin to say, "But I'm trying my best." And you truly are, but you've just not done the right thing. There's a difference between trying your best and doing the right thing. And that is where coaching and therapy shows up. The next thing that will tell you that your building block is faulty is your personality deficit. Those words that you say that this is the way I am. If you cannot accept me the way I am, I don't know how to do any different. Those are personality deficits. Because as much as people want to love you for the person you are, you're not all bad, right? And you're not all good either. However, are there things that you can learn? Are there things that you can do that can encourage you to do better in your relationships? Absolutely. And that is the situation where we have personality deficits. That is what it means to have personality deficits. Because if you don't show up to identify what your personality deficit is, if you don't even know what your personality is in the first instance, it is going to be very difficult for you to parent the child that you have in your care, because it will be very difficult for you to identify the kind of personality your child is. And this is where the conflicts begin, because you value yourself the way you are. You want your child to be exactly like you. However, that child is telling you that I am an individual. And that brings me to the second rule of parenting. Every child is a human, not a subhuman to you. Every child is a human being in their whole self, with their own love language, with their own personality, with their own driven mechanism. Until you, the parent, show up, this child actually is a human being that would grow up. It is the reason why a child born of a certain biology would be given to someone of a different, that is not biologically related to him. Think talk, and even sometimes behave unconsciously like that non-biological parents, because he or she will be conditioned by who he or she sees the most in their life. And that is what it means for you to recognize what your personality deficits are. Your personality deficits will bring you to the truth of who you are right now and help you to navigate to who you truly want to be so that you can be the best parent for that child. The third one is this recognizing your family, the dysfunctionality of your family of origin. So while we're talking about parenting the way you were parented, it's also that certain things were conditioned, were part of the conditioning that you grew up with. And, for all intents and purposes, our parents did the best that they could with what they knew and the resources that they had. However, in our own time, if we do not pay conscious attention to the dysfunctionalities that we live through and to unlearn those things, they will show up as normal in our parenting. Case in point, why do we always eat meat as the last part of food? Has anybody ever cracked that? Such that they would even give, so there's serving small chops in
Hey.
my daughter's school today, and there's puff puff, there's samosa, there's this, there's that, and there's chicken. And everybody on our table, everybody ate all the floury things first, and everybody ate the chicken last. And I was just like,
I mean, it's
interesting.
the protein last
Condition,
guy.
yes, conditioning is powerful. So because that is the thing that we grew up to know. If you don't finish your food, you don't get meat. And category, of all the food category, we know that protein is the most important thing. But it is that protein that they will use to punish you and tell you if you don't finish your food, you don't get to have meat. Has anybody ever cracked why when at a particular time of the day, no, I lost that train of thought. But let's think about it. There are certain things that are, they really don't make sense, but they show up as normal or the right way. A person who is born into poverty and whose parent would most likely say to him or her that I'm going to pay your school fees midterm. Midterm comes, they don't pay school fees. If that child grows up to have all the abundance in this world, if he or she does not consciously look at why the parents pay school fees midterm or at the end of term, he will believe that it is normal to pay school fees at the end of term. Meanwhile, the normal thing in most school is that you pay your school fees at the beginning of term. So there are certain things that we learn from the way we were brought up that are actually dysfunctional. But because that is the way we were brought up, same thing with shouting. We believe that if you don't shout to correct a child, that child does not learn. In fact, we think that being nice to our kid is a privilege. And it is as a result of a dysfunctional conditioning that arose from the way our forefathers were enslaved. Because again, I was fortunate to meet my mother-in-law. I'm sorry, my grandmother, and my grandmother was one of the nicest human beings. She used to cook one tasteful egusi soup that I can never ever forget, and I always try to recreate. Each time I'm making egusi soup, that's the one thing that keeps showing up in my head. The way my grandmother used to make the egusi soup, and I used to wonder that if my grandmother was this nice, how come my mother was very difficult to live with? Then I had my child, and I see the way my mom goes out of her way to be super nice to my daughter. In fact, that my mom knows how to say I love you was as a result of me having a daughter. And she says it so effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
She says it so effortlessly. And I'm like, is this a grandmother thing? But guess what? The same person that can be a grandmother must have first been a mother. And
Oh,
it's
God.
the same skill, that they are the same skill of love and attention and care that they could give their grandchildren, that they can also give their children, and their children will listen. In fact, it's so much that if my daughter misbehaves and I say, I'm going to tell grandma you did this, she said, please, mommy, don't tell me grandma, don't tell grandma. because they do not want to
Mhm.
live the respect. But grandma's never had to shout at her before.
Mm.
But now look at it. We have been conditioned to believe that as the parent, the only way you can get respected by your children is when you shout at them
Shit.
or when you beat them. It is part of a dysfunctional conditioning. And if you don't see it as that, you take that block and add it into your own architecture of the house that you are building,
Mm.
and you call it fashion or you assume it as normal. But it isn't normal. The next
Mm.
crack that will show up that there's something going on here is the state of insecurity that we are currently living as societies, as communities, as the entire world. The entire world is on its heels, where what is right is wrong and what is wrong is right, and what is the middle is at the back. And everybody is saying, it's my life, I can live it any way I want, and nobody can talk to me about it. Nobody can question me. I can decide to identify as a chicken today. That is my life, and it's nobody's problem. And in
Mm.
what society is that? In what world or what universe is that saying? But because, again, the cracks have been showing up for a long time and we've ignored it. So we are now having this tsunami of insecurities in the society that is sweeping at our very streets. And everybody is now shouting, please, oh, help me. Oh. But the people that you're asking to help you are also in trouble. Everybody is trying to carry their baggages to make it better. And these are some of the cracks from the minutest to the large one that we are now living in that is showing up to us that we need to go back to the drawing board. And part of the going back to the drawing board is how we move forward. So, what is the way forward from all this? And I've shared a lot. The first is if a house is, if they mark a house X, I don't know how they do it in anywhere else in the state or in the country, but when a house that is being built or being constructed is at the brink of collapse or negating a particular law, they mark an X on it and they let you know that you need to do something. The first things before you even go visit the government to pay your fine is do your personal assessment, do an audit, bring your surveyor to check your house. What do I need to do? What is missing? What is wrong with the foundation? Can we talk about it? And that is where you begin to need coaches or therapists to show up for you, right? For you to know how strong is your family. And every now and then, even when you believe that you've done the um, perfect process, you actually got the right surveyors, right architects, right builders. You still want to constantly check the terrain where your house is built. And this is where your coaches and your therapists will show up. Do an assessment, an audit to know where exactly you are. What is going on in your family right now that you need to change? The next thing is, I've said a lot, and in most cases, or in most conferences, when I finish saying this, some parents will go like, "Hey, in my life, oh, what will I do now? What is going to happen now?" And I always tell them the first thing you need to do is anchoring. Anchoring means that you recognize that no matter how bad it's been, can be with conscious process. So I'll repeat that again. No matter how bad it has been, no matter how bad you started, it is not near as great as it can be with conscious process. And that is you reaffirming the belief of processing, reaffirming in the belief that things can change, transformations can happen, you can become better at whatever it is that you're doing, and that you would enjoy the fruit of your labor, not just in the heaven, no, because they'll tell you that the reward of teachers and parents is in heaven. In fact, one of the most rewarding things is when you can see your child become not just the prayer that you've asked, but a lot more of the prayer that they are living that you didn't even recognize, right? So you have to anchor your belief on that. You have to anchor your sense of why on that. You have to begin to, ask yourself the intentional questions. Again, go back to the why. Why am I a parent? I want to do this, and for whom am I a parent? I want to do this because of God, but I also want this because I want my child to be an answer, a solution provider. I want my child to be one of the things that is going to be one of the people that is going to be said that this they tried their utmost best to make this world better living. As much as we all want to go to Jannah, as much as we all want to go to heaven, we first have to live in this world. And if we don't make this world livable, in fact, Jannah herself would ask us, why are you here? Because we have to ensure that we show up with our best, most excellent self. And we want to raise children along the path too. So you have to anchor your beliefs on that it is possible for you to raise wholesome, responsible, responsible children in the world that make the world a better place. Then the second thing is re-engineering. So if there's crack in the wall, this is where you now begin to get the right architects, the right people to do the work. This is the time where you are not scrimping. This is not the time for you to scrimp and say, I went to school with an architect when I was in year one. I'll just call the person. You don't even know whether that person has an architectural certificate or not, because that is like you doing the same thing and expecting a different result. You want to actually get it right this time around. So you want to re-engineer, and re-engineering means you unlearn those things that I've mentioned before. You will learn some of the good things that our parents did. Some of the good things our parents taught us was the value of respecting elders. These things on social media that you see an 18-year-old speaking to a 54-year-old like he or she is her mate, is mate or her mate, comes from as a result of we believe that you can undo and undo on social media. There's nobody to caution you. But children with proper home bringing recognize that respect is not given because of age. Respect is given as
The value.
as a human need. And that comes from even us as parents respecting our own children. When I tell my child that I need something, I use the word please and thank you. I don't say it because oh she's younger than me that it is her duty to serve me. She wasn't born into this world to serve me. She was born into this world to serve her Lord. I am only a custodian. And so many parents get that wrong because we think that, oh, our children must first learn to. Yes, they learn service to God through the way they serve us, but they also learn respect from us through the way we respect them.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you will learn some of the things that our parents taught us. You identify those good things and you will learn them and you institute them as a process of reengineering. And then you access new learnings that would empower you and make you resourceful to your children. The third is empowerment through coaching and therapy. I dare say,
Hmm.
if there's any time this is needed, even as economic challenges are arising, the fact is that if you are not investing in wholesomeness, you would pay drastically for repair.
Hmm.
Because repair would come in spaces where children become addictive to substances or to screen or to pornography. And it is cheaper cheaper to learn than to repair. Because by the time the children are addicted to all those things, you will not have to spend a whole lot more. So let me trip you. The cheapest substance abuse rehabilitation center, they charge nothing less than 200,000
Hmm.
a month for a child. Nothing less than that. And that is the cheapest. And that means that, maybe there's a grant somewhere or they're cutting corner somewhere. So you
Hmm.
think about it and you think about what you need to do. Isn't it cheaper for you to find a way to learn and to empower yourself right now than for you to have to pay in the future for the purpose of trying to repair these children? The third is now that you are beginning to done the re-engineering, you've done the empowerment, the building blocks are beginning to be set, you've roofed the house and everything. You would furnish because you're not going to live in a house that isn't empty. Now your furnishings will begin with traditions, acculturation, and reculturing, or in some cases relocating. Sometimes the environment that you are in, no matter how kind or nice or compassionate that you are, those environments would not support your transition or transformation. And you have to recognize that. And I'm not talking about the physical environment, I'm talking about the people that surround you. Because some people are just not ready to change. And as you are doing, they are undoing
Yeah,
for you.
way back.
So as you are affirming your child, as you are empowering your child, as you are trying to learn new things, you now take that child to a school where the
The school.
first thing that the head teacher will say to that child is, "Look at this idiot. Look at the way the idiot is walking to me." Or the principal, let me even shock you, walked into a school one day, and I looked at the principal's. It was a secondary school, and I walked into the principal's office, and there's Bollywood on at 9 a.m. And the principal was asking the secretary, hey, so what happened last night? And I
Die.
felt so disheartened.
Embarrassed.
And
Hmm.
it wasn't just embarrassing, it was just painful to watch.
Hmm.
Because I'm
I,
like, seriously? How do you even begin to engage in a value driven conversation with such a head of school? And we think these things that it is the children that is the problem. It is the people that surround them. So you want to understand what traditions you need to institute. Some of your traditions may actually begin with you. When we were young, one of the things that I remember the most about my childhood, that I love the most about my childhood, was that now my mom didn't want me to speak Yoruba at home because she wanted my English to be posh. Mission accomplished. But I also suffered because that means my siblings will be speaking Yoruba among themselves and I will not understand. Until I started beginning to cry that I wanted to learn Yoruba. And in that way, she will not be reading Yoruba stories to me. And that was how I learned. And I love that moment. If not, even though I remember that I didn't understand most of the stories until I reread them myself when I was in my late teens. At that moment when she was reading them to me, I felt so, there was this connection, there was the bond. Now it's a bond that actually also carried into my parenting with my daughter. And you would think that this was an Oyibo thing. It's not an Oyibo thing if it brings your connection to your with your child to a point that they feel most comfortable with you. They feel most connected with you. And that is some of the things that you need to begin to establish or to identify. What are the traditions you want to bring up? What are the things that you want to acculturate your children with? You want to acculturate. So when we finished, today was my daughter's school year end ceremony, you know. And one of the things that we always did, even though I knew that I had a class tonight, one of the things we always did was that when we finish at the year end, we go to grandma's house and we pray, and they pray for her. For me, was telling her I was preparing her mind that she is not just linked to me and her dad. She's linked to so many other people, so many other ancestors before her,
hmm.
and she values that. In fact, when her school gave us just one guest ticket, and I asked her, "Who did you want?" and she mentioned our aunt. And the other
Hmm.
aunties were like, How about me?" And she told them, every one of them, the position that they have in her life. And I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, and she's just 5 years old. And this is the value of helping your child to recognize choices and to attach them to the community where they feel free and they feel valued. And they know that they're not just tied, how our walls are now bigger than our boundaries. Like we have these tall buildings, but our boundaries are very skirmished. Predators walk into our house anyhow in the name of familyhood. However, the true people that would improve the values, right? My mom is such that if my daughter is around, she watches Z World, but when my daughter is around, she knows that she can't do that.
Hmm.
And that is part of acculturation,
Hmm.
right? And in some cases, when that is not happening, when you know that it is not happening, then you relocate. You're not just relocating because it is vehement, or you're trying to be out of hatred, but you know that the future is more important than the past. So you relocate in such a way that it doesn't give any chance for resentment, and you create, you still maintain ties without you know making the bond, I don't know how to put it, but without making it feel like they are distant. And that is what it means to relocate. And then the most important, because we miss it, is celebrations.
Hmm.
Celebrations are important. I don't know what
No,
kind of African parents,
no.
what kind of parent you are if you don't celebrate. Because if you build a house and you are proud of the house that you build, you will invite your guests to come and welcome to go and come and do housewarming. It is also important for your children to be celebrated. It is important for you to celebrate yourself. So
Yourself.
celebrations are not your idol hada celebrations or the birthday. Celebrations are those moments where your children feel or the family feel entirely free to be bonding with you. You celebrate each other's progresses. And that can only happen if you've identified the values that you want to build and you measure how you're getting to the place that you want to get to. It can only happen where there's a vision of where you're going to and and you're measuring the process. So for each milestone of upbringing, you celebrate. You let your family know that you are proud of who they are. Celebration is the brain's way of calibrating success. Because if
Hmm.
nobody told you, born in Rami, it comes from knowing that it is important for our brain to recognize that we are making progress. Because without that, we will feel stuck. We would assume the worst of ourselves, and it will diminish all the effort we are putting into building the kind of blocks or the kind of buildings that we truly can be proud of. So, of all the things that is important, in fact, in most cases, I often ask my clients, I say, please give me 5 things that you're proud of. If they're complaining about their family or they're complaining about children, give me 5 things that you're proud of. And then go home and go and celebrate before we do anything. Because you have to acknowledge how far you've come. Even if you've not gotten to where you want to get to, celebrate and let people celebrate with you. Thank you. I hope that this brings you as much comfort as it brought me in preparing the session. And I know that we have, again, in anchoring, there's a lot more to be grateful for, no matter how rough or how bad it's been. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum
Uh-huh.
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. That was so profound. In less than 1 hour, you have done. In fact, my notes is filled here. I wanted to start typing and start for the screen to start just to show it on the screen, but I ended up writing 2 sheets, 2 full sheets,
Wow.
because I don't want that to miss any of them. Thank you so much. You
Oh,
have learned a lot. And I
alhamdulillah.
think the aspect of celebration that hits me differently, because there was a time, I think last year, I was writing about gratitude, and I realized
Mm,
that throughout my childhood, I can't remember any time that was celebrated. I can't remember a typical time like this in my childhood or growing up that I was celebrated. And being celebrated last year gave me a lot of confidence. It made me feel
mm,
felt different about myself. And that part is very, very important. That day I cried, I wept like a baby.
oh.
Because I realized that it's something
Alhamdulillah.
that I've missed all my life. So I thank you
Mm.
for doing this. There are a lot of things that we have said. I don't know if there's anybody that has question here. Please drop it. Let me go through the comment section. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I can see. Just like the prophet said that we should flee. Okay, okay. When something is not, I think that one is talking about
Yeah,
when
the
you are not
relocating.
comfortable. Okay,
Yeah.
relocation. And this one is talking about our children learn respect from us through the way we respect them. Yes, thank you. If you have any question, please drop the question. We need to release our speaker. She had been busy since morning, so we have just less than 12 minutes to do that. But if there are no questions, I think we'll have to release her. But the point that we should all take away from this session is that no matter how tough or how wrong we have done in building the block so far, one of the things that she said that was profound to me is that faith is key. Just know that no matter how far you have gone, doing the wrong thing or not being on the right path, building the blocks in your family, there is hope. There is hope. There is solution. The important thing is that you should believe. Go back to your belief. Believe that it's possible for you to do something better to help your family become better. And I ask God, I ask Allah to ease it for every one of us. Or
And
wherever you're watching us from, Be it a Christian, be it a Muslim, we are going to live together in this world. We are going to be here together. So we have to sit together. We have to discuss
Mm.
these issues together. Because at the end of the day, we are going to meet in the future one way or the other. We can't have Muslim alone in a company. We can't have Christians alone in a company. At one point or
Mm.
the other, you have to relate with the other people. So thank you all. This is just for humanity. I hope that everyone that watched this particular session will find a solution to one thing or the other in their families. And I hope that we all have an amazing day. Thank you. Tomorrow again we continue. I can release our speaker now since I can't find any question here.
Okay.
So just to leave you to
Okay.
okay. Yes, there are no questions. Let me just release you. Thank you very much for honoring me, ma'am. May Allah
Amen.
bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank
Amen.
you.
Amen. Amen. Right.
Okay, bye bye, ma.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa
Bye.
barakatuh. So thank you, audience, for joining us today, for being here all through. I believe that you have learned a lot. I personally have learned a lot, even though I'm a practitioner myself. I've learned a lot that I think I will start also practicing. She has mentioned that the way forward, one of the things she mentioned is that do personal audits. Don't lie to yourself. One of the things that I personally like telling myself is that don't lie to your soul. Your soul knows what your heart is the way. Your heart knows what it craves. And if you're sincere with yourself, you have to start doing the work. Do personal audits. Are you really comfortable with this kind of life? Are you really happy with the kind of parenting you're currently practicing? Are you really happy with the kind of family you emanate from? Are you happy? Are you happy with the kind of toxic system or structure in your family? Ask yourself those questions. And then she mentioned anchor. Anchor is that you know that no matter how bad it has been, there is still hope. You can embrace that reality and start working towards it. She also mentioned that we should re-engineer ourselves. Stop it, telling your child to eat meat after their food. It doesn't make them spoil brats. And I know that some people are catching their sub already. Please stop doing that. If you are that mommy that will say, if you don't eat your food, there is no meat for you, it doesn't make them bad. And that one is empowerment. Empower yourself. Go for trainings, go for workshop. No matter how little, no matter, start from somewhere. If you cannot afford the big ones, do the small ones. It's the effort that matters. And believe me, if the effort are sincere and are consistent, you're going to see results. Because one of the things that I personally believe in, a verse from the Holy Quran that says that what man shall have nothing except what he strives for. I believe so much in that word that even when I do something and I don't get the results, I'm confident and I'm pleased that I know that perhaps that thing is not good for me. So that's the part of empowerment. She also mentioned furnishing. Furnishing means that do something extra. You can't just leave your house like that. In terms of acculturation, in terms of relocation, if you think you have to relocate, relocation does not have to be physical. It could be in terms of your mind, your mental way, your beliefs. Anyone that you are the one that are trying to make efforts, learning new parenting styles, learning new way to build your family because you believe that you are going to be accountable, and you are still working with people that will tell you, you are still making friends with those people that will bring you down, that will make you be like you're raising your child the wrong way, even though their own way of raising child does not align with your own family vision. So if you don't deliberately furnish yourself by walking away from those people through perhaps relocation does not have to be physical, by not associating with them, by not bringing your issues towards them, such that they will have to put their mouth, then please furnish yourself, furnish the way, start putting things in place in your house that will reaffirm your vision for you, that will reaffirm the vision that you have for your family. That way, you get to remind yourself often. And she also mentioned the last one, celebration. Celebrate the progress in your family. No matter how bad you think it is, there's something to be grateful for. Go back to your house today, reflect this night, and mention 5 things you're grateful for in your family, no matter how bad you think the current situation is. And I'm also going to be doing that tonight. Thank you all for joining me again. Tomorrow again, we continue at 10 a.m. Bye, and do have a lovely night's rest.